The history of Mount Triumph Baptist Church. In 1915, brothers J.W. Eddings, Manuel Little, Hillard Hamilton, and Jesse Whitaker, and sisters Rosa Eddings, Melinda Little, and Lottie Whitaker rented a small frame house from Mr. George Sparks at 900 East Noble Street. They assembled themselves with letters from the Bethlehem Baptist Church of Southtown in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. A council to organize a church was called and answered by the Reverend Dr. E.W. Perry, pastor of the Tabernacle Baptist Church of Oklahoma City, Reverend Lovejoy Clark from Calvary Baptist Church, and Reverend B.F. Westbrook. The group was found to be fitting and proper, with Reverend Perry as chairman and Reverend Westbrook as vice chairman, and was organized in good order according to Baptist discipline and regulation. Reverend Perry made the motion to name the church Mount Triumph Baptist Church. Upon the approval of all previous motions, those 7 members moved to invite to the pastorate of the church Reverend W. M. Carter. In 1919, the church moved from the Noble Street location to a small frame building on South Phillip Street in Walnut Grove in Oklahoma City. A short time later, the building relocated to 716 East Reno with Reverend A. M. Manuel as pastor. At this location, a parsonage and brick building were added. On November 10, 1957, the church moved to its present location, 1716 Abram Ross Avenue, formerly Alice Street, in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Leadership of Mount Triumph was accepted by Reverend Luther C. Jones on August 19, 1992. Reverend Jones cultivated the church and ushered its members into the 20th century by erecting a new edifice on the Abram Ross site in 1995. On April 19, 1998, Reverend Jones was promoted to pastor emeritus and thus began the direction of Pastor Leroy Hill Jr. It is through the vision and guidance of Pastor Hill's God-sent leadership that saw and prepared Mount Triumph for the 21st century. Under the leadership of Pastor Hill, Mount Triumph flourished with an intense focus to take all the Bible to all the world through a 5-fold vision: faith, family, finance, fellowship, and freedom. It is through this spiritual liberation that Mount Triumph brings a God-centered approach to holistic ministry, ministering to the whole man. On June 12, 2005, Pastor Hill accepted a calling to teach and preach at the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Portsmouth, Virginia. Through diligent prayer of the congregation and search committee, God answered the call for Mount Triumph's next pastor, Reverend James A. Dorn, Jr., from the New Union Baptist Church under Pastor Kelly R. Booker, who took the pulpit on December 4, 2005. Since his assignment began, Reverend Dorn focused on God's direction of making Mount Triumph a great soul-winning church. Implementing the Family Life and Learning Center, Reverend Dorn began a hands-on effort to impact the future leadership of the church through community evangelism. Under Pastor Dorn's leadership, the first and second mortgages of the church were paid in full to Quail Creek Bank. The second mortgage was paid off on November 27, 2019, and the primary mortgage was satisfied in full on November 5, 2021. With this, the church became debt-free since it was erected in 1995. God truly blessed, and the Mount Triumph Baptist Church was paid off in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. Mount Triumph's mission is growing and expanding, with plans to acquire property in the area and establish businesses to address the direct needs of the Oklahoma City community within the Northeast Quadrant. Through Pastor Dorn's leadership, God will usher the Mount Triumph family into the new millennium with an explosion of faith and service.